Fab, thank you. Jenni, thank you for joining me on Headstrong.
Thank you for having me.
How are you today? Are you a bit stiff or are you just kind of used to it now?
No, so I did a half marathon yesterday and no, I feel good actually. I find it strange that I feel good because usually I'm in agony and can't walk. So something strange has happened and I'm very suspicious. I don't know why. Probably catch up with me in 2 days.
I know that this is a strange question to be opening with. Is stretching a big part of your life?
I know it should be.
Everyone talks about stretching.
I know I don't really do stretching. I'm quite anti-stretching. And I mean, it feels nice, but I don't necessarily think it has as many benefits as everyone thinks.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Now, I have to say, I think in truth, you probably put a lot of people to shame with your adoration and passion for running and fitness. Like, you live and breathe it. It's amazing, like how much you care about it.
Yeah, I do. But you know, I'm never going to win a race. Okay.
No.
I just do it because I love it and I love the way it makes me feel. And I think that through a passion for health and fitness and well-being and everything, I think I have started creating work opportunities for myself because I just see that so many other people are getting into it or on the cusp of it and they just need a little bit of persuading. So if anyone doesn't do running, I just go, why not?
Well, definitely, we're going to come on to it because I don't do running.
You don't run?
We'll come on to it though, because I first of all want to ask you about a day-to-day in the life of Jenni, because you do everything. You're as someone who is self-employed, ultimately, routine is quite important. You've got to be quite strict with yourself. But I mean, you must be up early doors, like 4 a.m?
Yeah, I am indeed. Well, the thing is as well, so only since working in radio have I really had a routine. So I work on radio 6 days a week. So I know where I have to be every single day, 6 days a week, in the morning, certainly. And prior to that, I've worked in loads of different jobs and every day is different. So routine has been something that's gone well and truly out the window. And it's really hard to even have a schedule. So working in radio is a luxury because you do get a routine. And I know for a lot of people that sounds horrific, a bit Groundhog Day-ish, but for me, it is absolutely bliss. Like, I've worked in media 30 years. And for 10 years, just over 10 years of that, I have known where I'm going to be Monday through to Sunday, and it's a joy.
Yeah.
Because it means that you have more presence with the family, you know where you can be, you know you can do school pickup or not, so it's quite good.
It's just so good to have that structure. And then also when to fit in your other, as you say, family activities, and your passions like running.
Yeah.
You know when to kind of fit things in. Do you go running before?
No.
That'd be ludicrous.
So it would be ludicrous. Everyone says that. Everyone goes, have you run to work? And I'm like, no, it's 5:30 in the morning.
You only use your voice. No.
I know, I don't. Literally nobody would want, my producer would not want to sit near me if I'd just done an hour's run, let me tell you. So no, I tend to run my commute home again afterwards, which is nice. But I do, my day starts at 4. I'm on the radio, on Smooth Radio, doing the breakfast show 6 till 10. And on a Saturday, I do 10 till 1. And then other jobs kind of come in and around it. And I have my own podcast, much like you. So that's a bit more ad hoc, depending on guests' availability. So yeah, I'm not necessarily always recording at the same time on the same day. But that's kind of the basic kind of structure of my life. And then on top of that, on a Sunday, I sit down and work out where my runs can go, when my gym can go, and when my golf can fit in.
Yeah, well, there you go. You got to get it all in, though.
I feel like I do.
Yeah, for sure. But something that we are very good at neglecting as human beings is, particularly when we're getting up and we are super busy, we'll just skip breakfast, which I think is, in my opinion, something that I never skip. But I read something because you've done something very exciting recently. But one of the stats was 78% of 16 to 24-year-olds regularly skip breakfast.
I know. Well,
mental.
It is crazy. I mean, look, there's the whole fasting thing is massive now as well. So a lot of people are kind of cutting out when they're eating and they're doing like their 16-8 and all the rest. And I at times do that, but I've got to be honest, if you have a really busy day, and especially for me, I've been training for a half marathon, I will inevitably start my marathon training again soon. And there's no way I can not fuel myself in the morning, especially if I'm going on a big training run. And there's so many people as well that have got a busy day at school, they've got a busy day at work, at college, whatever. And without having the right fuel, they're not fueling their brain, they're not giving themselves the energy and the stamina to get through it. So I think that's a message that is important. You know, look, there was a phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And I think it was kind of invented by Kellogg's years ago, okay? Yeah. Brilliant marketing tool. But it did, in fact, highlight how important breakfast can be for you. And it does set you up for the day.
It does, truly. I mean, you know, if I haven't had breakfast by 11 o'clock, it's like you're looking at the clock, you're getting hungry.
Your stomach rumbling.
You're getting itchy. Yeah, exactly. But you did Fuel 10K recently, doing some amazing work for them.
Yeah, well, the brilliant thing is I do take Fuel 10K. Yeah, I mean, I love their porridge and their granola as well. But basically, because I'm a fan of the brand, they came to me and asked me to help work with a campaign which they've got, which is amazing. So October is officially porridge month. And so they decided that for October, for every sachet of porridge, for every pot of porridge they sell, they will donate a portion of porridge to Fair Share, which is this amazing cause. It basically, they're food banks that help loads of people that are going without. There's a lot of people need help right now, and more than ever, it is important that we're stocking up all the food banks.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's crazy as well. Over the last week or 2 weeks, I have noticed the temperature plummet. I don't know about
goodness!
you.
I noticed yesterday.
It's horrible.
Yesterday was the coldest.
I literally got my big puffer jacket out of the cupboard. I was like, oh, here it comes.
It was. I know. It is got to that time.
There. And so, like, genuinely, and I love porridge. I love getting golden syrup.
Okay, you too.
What do you put on your porridge?
I'm very boring. It's honey and it's banana. That's it.
Healthy. We love it.
Good. There we go.
Before we get into your podcast and everything, I'd like to rewind and look at your early childhood and growing up in Glasgow. Because you, as a host of the podcast, are good at asking the questions.
I know, I'm not.
And I know that you do press and you've got your radio show, but being asked about you is why you're here. It's exciting.
It doesn't happen very often. I'm always like, no one wants to know. No one cares. And I did grow up in Glasgow, but I moved around because my dad was, his job his job was relocated. So basically, as he got promoted, he got relocated. And so I lived in Glasgow till I was like 7, then moved to Hampshire, then moved back to Glasgow, then moved back to Berkshire. And that was, we were just moving. I think I went to 7 different primary schools. We moved quite a lot.
Wow.
And then my parents decided when we started secondary school, me and my younger brother, they were like, right, we can't keep moving them because it might mess up their GCSEs and A-levels, which is what we were sitting in England. And so my dad continued to kind of relocate and then would commute Monday to Friday. So otherwise we'd have been in Manchester, South Africa, Central and Eastern Europe. So yeah, we didn't move as much anymore.
When you look at the moving and your childhood, do you think that hindered your kind of education and making friends? Did that?
No, I got you more friends.
Oh, good. Already from just talking to you for the last half an hour, you're clearly someone that doesn't find making friends difficult. But someone else in that situation, chopping and changing, might have quite a different effect on them.
It's good. It forces you to actually toughen up a wee bit and to smile and to go into a room and start a conversation. I think you have to. I think it was actually quite a good thing. It taught me to be able to mix with people from all different backgrounds, all different ages, all different cultures, different schools. I mean, when you start a new school, again, there's obviously going to be a bit of a negativity kind of vibe from some of the pupils. When I moved from Scotland to England, people in England go, oh, you're Scottish, and all go, okay, the new. Then you move back to Scotland and everyone go, you're so English. So you couldn't win really, but you just adapt, you toughen up, and you learn to smile and get on with it.
How important was and indeed is family to you?
Oh, it really is. We're a really small family, So I've got my mum and dad. My dad has a brother. My mum's an only child, so it's not like I have loads and loads of uncles and aunts, lots of cousins and things. But yes, it's a small family, so we are tight-knit. And my mum and dad, when we moved down south, my grandparents would always come and visit. And we lost them. So now it feels very small. My brother now lives in South Africa.
Wow.
And so I see him maybe once a year, so not very often, but we speak pretty much every day. And because of FaceTime and WhatsApp, it honestly feels he could live down the road. We're in touch that often.
Yeah, it's so special though, isn't it? Because it wouldn't be like that. I remember talking to one of my grandparents before they did pass about, if you organised to meet somebody, you had to be there on the time and the place and the date. And if you weren't, that would be that.
I know.
You'd have to write them a letter.
Well, it's like if you went going, when I was younger, I remember going on a date, going to the cinema, and literally you had to be there. And if you weren't there, then they wouldn't know if you were coming or if you were late. And what's the cutoff for waiting?
I wouldn't
What
know.
is the cutoff?
Oh, my anxiety couldn't deal with that.
I know, you have to wait, or you have to go and find a phone box.
I reckon I'd
phone
give
their
it
house.
20 minutes and then I'd go watch the film myself.
Okay, see. Well, there we go.
That's assuming that the person is stitching me up.
You just never know. That's literally how life was.
Yeah, it's so true. It's absolutely bizarre. Do you reckon that Glasgow is as beautiful as it is today?
Glasgow is beautiful, even if it's grey, even if it's raining, it is absolutely stunning. Do you know, whenever I go home, and I'm going actually home in a couple of weeks' time, it just feels so nice to be there, and it doesn't matter the weather, it's stunning.
Yeah, for sure. It's so true. Whatever you deem as home, you have that, you just feel relaxed no matter what you get.
Have you been to Glasgow?
I have. I've been once.
Okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed
Were
it.
you in the city?
I was in the city, and then I was also in Prestwick.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So you haven't gone out, you haven't gone up to Loch Lomond or done all the West Coast?
Exploring Scotland, and 2025, this is one of my things that I want to do, is do more staycations in the UK.
Yeah.
Because so many of us are immediately go, let's go, on a cheap flight with EasyJet somewhere. But there's so much here that we have no one explored.
Oh my goodness, there's so many amazing places.
It's insane.
It is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the West Coast of Scotland is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful parts of the world.
Yeah, so for you, getting fresh air is hugely valuable for your own mental health.
Yeah, well, fresh air, being outside full stop is important to me. And I think that's one of the reasons I think I love running so much, because look, I use it, I commute my run so I can be outside, so I can be active. And that is in itself, like, it works wonders for my mental health. It's like my therapy. If I didn't get to be outside as often as I do, and if I didn't get to do the exercise, which helps me massively, I think I would be going crazy. My anxiety would be through the roof. I get het up, I get stressed, I don't know, I start seeing things in an irrational manner. But by being outside and by being active, it's like the weight's lifted off my shoulders and I can see clearly.
Even when you were younger, and you didn't necessarily realize it at the time, but going running was something that was hugely valuable for your mental health, because your mum would say to you, just go out for a run, you're in a bad mood.
Yeah, I know.
And, that's, you don't realize it, but that's something immediately that you're doing to look after your kind of mental health.
Yeah, I mean, I started running properly when I was about 19 years old, and that, I mean, because otherwise when you're at school, I don't count it, because you're told to do it, aren't you? So it doesn't count when you're told to do it. But when out of choice, when you leave school, when you're on your own or is at uni or whatever, and you decide to go for a run, that's when you really, really feel the benefit of it, because that's when you're doing it because it makes you feel good. And yes, my mum still to this day is like, oh my God, you just need to go for a run. You're just annoying.
I love it. I've got to ask you about the bribery at the age of 14, when you were bribed for a quid to quit first.
Yeah.
And you did it.
Yeah.
And to this day, is that true?
I think, I have. I like to test my willpower. Sometimes it's better than others. I don't know if you've ever given anything up just to see if you can do it.
I'm rubbish. I'm so impulsive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have to put in discipline and, routine. It's a bit like, as we were talking about with self-employment, recently, not quite 4 a.m., but I've been saying I'm getting up at 6 a.m. no matter what, because I work better in the morning. So by midday, I want to have done 5-6 hours work solid.
Yeah.
And, I just know that that's when I work better.
But it does make sense to do that. When I used to host This Morning, when Holly was on maternity leave years ago, I filled in for about 4 or 5 months, and I wouldn't have to leave my house till like 8, something like that. But I would also get up about 5 to just do all the work. So I'd much rather do it in the morning when I'm feeling fresh, feeling really ready to take on the day, than at night when you switch the light on and you're kind of like really kind of like trying to stay awake to get through all your work.
So how have you maintained fitness and running alongside life and career?
I want to do it, firstly. And when you want to do something, you'll make it happen.
Yeah. So you make the time.
You can find the time. Now, there are some days where you can't. You physically can't. I will try my best to shoehorn some kind of exercise in, even if it's walking home. Even that's why I run my commute. Sometimes I haven't got time to do anything. So I'll be like, I'll run home. Takes about the same time as it would do if I was getting public transport, maybe a little bit longer. But at least I can get it squeezed into the day. I think I've just always had that attitude, and therefore by doing it, I know I will feel better. It's just important to me to do it. And even if the week is chock-a-block, you can find little pockets, little windows.
Well, I think for me, and again, we'll talk about, but finding 20, 30 minutes just to do a Peloton, because having that just accessibility and ease to do it, but it is exactly the same with running, just quick 20 minutes.
That's it. So like a Peloton, you can go and you can do a program or not, whatever you want. And you could do really intensive 10 minutes and that will get your heart rate up and that will do the job. A 10-minute workout works wonders. If you've got longer, obviously you'll reap even more benefits. So just doing something. And I always say to people who don't have time for running, I'm like, look, if you have a half-hour window, why don't you say 15 minutes of that, I'm going to go out, I'm going to run to the end of the road, and then I'm going to run back. Now, usually by the time you get to the end of the road, you're like, well, I'm out. I might as well fill my half hour. And you'll feel amazing for it. You'll never regret going and doing that exercise. But in hindsight, you might regret not doing it. So why waste that window of opportunity?
The feeling of guilt is always such an interesting one, isn't it?
I know. Well, it's guilt and regret. And you shouldn't even entertain that. You should be like, okay, it's a lesson learned. I won't do that again, because you'll be sitting at the end of your day and you will reflect back on that hour where you just sat scrolling on Instagram, watching other people do activities. And you're like, I should have done something there and then. And you really should have. So you've learned that was a wasted opportunity. So tomorrow, why don't you just make it happen?
Right, let's go. Let's talk career now. So first things first, do you think Love is Blindness is as good as Blind Date?
Well, I mean, Blind Date's the OG. That's all
Exactly.
I'm going to say. So, there's all these other ones that are coming around and they're trying to have the same success, but it's not quite happening, is it?
I want to talk about classic TV. This is such a random question, but I thought of the show and I was just like, I have to ask you. If you were on Stars in Their Eyes, who would you be?
Oh my God, I just wouldn't go at it. I wouldn't go at it. I can't sing. It's just the worst thought. Where it's like punishment. I'd be like, no thanks, not today.
Fair enough. Oh, I used to love watching
Who would you do?
I think I'd probably, going off my Parker there, I'd like to do Liam Gallagher.
Okay, nice.
Fun.
Yeah, excellent. Well, that was good. That would be a good one.
I always like seeing the costumes and, in true kind of entertainment and TV style. I used to believe that it was, that was a quick change.
I know, it was amazing. I think I did as well. When you watch it, you believe the magic of television, which is exactly what they want you to believe.
Exactly. But getting into show business, it's a whole different world now. Imagine starting today. What piece of advice would you give to somebody looking at show business today?
Well, firstly, everyone enters the entertainment business from a different direction or a different angle. So do not think, okay, they did work experience and then they got a gig, I need to do that. It might work for them, it might work for you, but chances are your kind of route in is something different. Maybe you've got to go and make the teas and coffees for someone. Maybe you've got to do make a YouTube video or channels, or maybe you've got to just start having a presence on Instagram and have a strength, have a talking point, having like a topic that you're an expert in. Or maybe like me, it's just perseverance and phoning people and doing volunteering at your local radio station at ungodly hours, and then luck also carries you along a little bit. So everyone is different. So if you're trying to get into the industry, do not compare yourself to other people. Make your own path.
For sure, such good advice. Where did your passion come from for kind of the entertainment world?
I think I went on Blind Date when I was 18, and I think it opened my eyes to how exciting and how fun it was. I mean, you go on Blind Date, you're only going to see the fun side of it. Okay, so I went on, I picked a day, we went on a holiday, which you're not allowed to call it holiday then, you had to call it the day. Essentially, we went on a holiday and we filmed a travelogue and it was amazing. And then we came back and it was just a joy. And I really enjoyed it. And I said, I'd like to get into telly. And they went, yeah, everyone says that.
It's not that easy.
So then I went and created opportunities for myself. So I think that's it. You've got to be proactive. You can't just sit and wait for these opportunities to come along, because they won't, because nobody knows that's what you're after. You have to make people aware, and you have to showcase.
So important.
Yeah. Oh my God. There's so many people, especially now, that just sit back and expect it to come to them. It's just not. There's too many other people that are jumping to the front of the queue and they're putting their hand up higher. So you've got to do something that makes you stand out from the crowd.
For sure. Now, one of your earliest and most successful gigs was on GMTV, God rest its soul. which is sad.
No, we had the GMTV reunion the other night. There were, oh my God, there were like maybe 60 people came, and loads of people couldn't because they were working or they were ill or they were whatever. So 60 people for the first big GMTV reunion was quite impressive.
When did you go out for drinks?
Well, I only went for a couple of hours because I had work in the morning. I left them, and from the WhatsApp account, it was a late night.
As you'd expect.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's brilliant fun. But when you look at that, because you were there for a significant period of time, but getting into the showbiz industry, it is, as you say, you've got to take opportunities. Things are changing constantly. Where you're working is changing constantly. So what's and who has been your pillar throughout that time?
Yeah, well, look, I started working on GMTV in 2000. Prior to that, I'd never done a showbiz interview, and I'd worked on documentaries for ITV, and I hosted a consumer show. I'd done adrenaline sports and travelogues. Never done showbiz, but I got this amazing opportunity with a program called Entertainment Today, me and Ben Shepherd. And I remember going in for the first day at work, which was gearing up towards the first show, and they went, so you're going to Venice tomorrow? And I was like, okay. And they went, you're going to the Venice Film Festival to interview Clint Eastwood. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, imagine your first day, you're going to the Venice Film Festival to interview Clint Eastwood. That was as showbiz as you could get. And I was terrified. I'd never interviewed, a soap star, let alone one of Hollywood's biggest A-listers. So it was quite exciting. And I think you just go in at the deep end.
Yes.
You learn what to do. It was absolutely incredible. What an experience. And that was it. It kind of went from there. And the opportunities that came along were unbelievable, from being in pop videos, being on TV shows. I got to be in Taggart, which is as a Scot massive, and go to LA and interview, like Jack Bauer and, all these amazing iconic TV shows and characters that you never ever thought were anything more than a TV show that you got to watch, but we'd got to go on set and meet Kiefer Sutherland and go on set of like Friends. And I mean, it was incredible. It was just another level brilliant. And it was an exciting part of I was in my 20s. I mean,
what an opportunity. I mean, as I hear many people say in this industry, it's a real privilege to do something like this.
Yeah.
But in that same breath, the way that you were just describing it there, you're going to Venice, you're going to LA, you're getting up early hours, you're doing all sorts. And that can take its toll as well in terms of burnout. Did you ever experience burnout?
Well, I did actually. I did have a little bit of burnout. So I was doing that show. I was also hosting the National Lottery on Saturdays and Wednesdays. And I was doing a show called Cirque du Celebrity, which was for Sky, big entertainment show for Sky One. And then on top of that, I was doing a travel show. And I got to the point where I didn't know where I was. And I remember waking up in Hong Kong, and I didn't know where I was. I literally didn't know what day it was. And I had to phone my boyfriend, who I just got together with, who's now my husband, and just go, I don't know where I am. And he went, you're in Hong Kong. That's what happened. I just got to a stage where I didn't know. I just knew I had to be back in the UK for certain live shows, and the rest of it was traveling away. I was knackered, absolutely knackered. But I would never, ever have not wanted to be in that situation, because it was such, as you say, a privilege to do it. It was exciting. I was honestly completely shattered. I just worked and worked and worked. And it was great. And I got all these incredible experiences, and I made brilliant friends. But I'd just fall asleep. Sometimes I'd just fall asleep as we're about to start filming. I'd be like,
well, I think that's a superpower. Being able to fall asleep anywhere is
oh my God, I
am
am
on the job less good.
I am amazing at that today. And I think from years, I did 8 years doing early breakfast on Heart. So I'd get up at 2 every day.
Ooh.
And now if I just lie back, I'm asleep. It's like literally a slight recline and I'm out cold, which is really embarrassing if you're ever having a massage, or if you're ever lying back and having a facial, or if you're in a really lovely warm cinema with seats that go back, you're like, no.
That's it. That's so funny. What, other than running, are your kind of coping mechanisms that really help you look after yourself?
I know it is ridiculous. Sitting down and meditating is not a thing for me. I mean, for me, meditation is being active. So genuinely running, playing golf. And if I can't do either of those, say through injury or whatever, sometimes I get a bit anxious that if I'm injured, I won't be able to do the things that will help my mental health. So I do a lot of walking as well. And I remember speaking to someone once, a man called Rangan Chatterjee, who I don't know if you've had him on here.
No.
He'd be amazing for you. He's the nicest man. And he said to me, if you're injured and you can't walk, what will you do? And I was like, well, we just don't even think about that. And he goes, you always have to have a backup, because if you know that your mental health relief and the way of coping with any stress is to go for a run or to play golf or go to the gym, what happens when you can't be active for whatever reason? And he goes, you need to find something. So, I mean, he says he writes in a diary. I don't know if that would necessarily de-stress me as much, but maybe it's something to have a go at, especially if anyone's listening now and they want to find something that will help them just release and relax. Maybe it is diarising. For me, quite often it's watching films. I know it sounds very easy.
That detachment, it's so lovely to just, as long as you're not reclining too much.
I know, that's it, then I'm out cold. But I love movies, I love television, and I don't get enough time to kind of sit down and do it. So for me, if I did have a few hours and I was super stressed, sitting down to just watch telly would be like a luxury and would also help me relax quite a lot. With my dog right beside me, because she is like the biggest de-stressor ever.
I was going to say, I have a dog that's 4, and it's amazing how many people that I do talk to and say that is one of the pillars of, just, it's unconditional love, isn't it? And it's just, for me, maybe I should run with him. He's a Cocker Spaniel. But that's an excuse to get outside. I have no choice. Because he needs it. But therefore it's benefits me.
But it's lovely, isn't it, going out for a walk with them? I mean, I walk along talking to my dog and people must go, oh my God, she's there. Crazy woman that chats to her dog the whole way.
We'd look like two peas in a pod. People must think I'm absolutely
We should introduce our dogs. Mine's called, I've got one dog, she's called Millie, and she is a Pugalier. So she's kind of like a cross between a pug and a King Charles Cavalier.
Beautiful.
But I swear she's a cat. She can jump onto, when you don't want your dog to see something, so you put it on like the kitchen units. She can jump up.
Oh, God.
She is actually a cat, so nothing is safe in our house.
Oh, I love it. That's brilliant. Well, honestly, I'm not going to recommend anyone getting a dog unless you can look after it. But yes, I love having a dog around.
Yeah, having a pet is incredible, actually, because for instance, there's a lot of people have dogs that become their therapy dogs, and they go into hospitals or to homes just because they just relax everyone.
Calming, and it's nice to be around something that will just give you love, right?
And it's also just a really good companion that is delighted, even if you go to get something from the car, you come back in, it's like you've been gone. It's amazing.
It's so true. Now, let's think about the running side of things again, because there are also days that are just like today, the beautiful rain, it's dark, things are getting colder again. But I know full well that you are going to be of the mindset that you'll still get out there and do it. How do you motivate yourself to get out there even when it is crap outside?
I know.
Where there's poor.
It is really hard if you're in the house. Say it's a day off, it's a Saturday or a Sunday, and you're a day off, and look out the window and it's torrential. The sofa's there, you can have tea and biscuits, watch a movie. Maybe going outside is not appealing. Okay, I get that. I do get that. But you will feel amazing. You will feel absolutely fantastic if you do it. And that's something you cannot take away. So maybe this is where I always say to people, if you just go out, run as if you're going to the shop to get something. And if you get to the shop, then buy something and come home and then call it quits. Or get to the shop and realize that the run is so joyous that you're just going to carry on and get it on the way home. For me, it doesn't matter if it's raining. Your skin's waterproof, for goodness sake. Once you start running, you'll warm up. If it's cold, just wear an extra layer.
We're so easy to make it quick to make excuses.
So easy to make an excuse, and it's really easy to procrastinate. And procrastination's fine as long as you get it done in the end. As I said earlier, you'll just regret it if you don't.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I know that you touched on it there, but injury, that is something that you have experienced before.
Oh, it's so
and
annoying.
When you're not able to do your form of meditation, which is running, that must take its toll.
It's so annoying. So I love running so much, I've overdone it. And in lockdown, for instance, I was one of the few people that was still going to my workplace because I was live on the radio every day, but I would run home because I thought at least then I'm staying outside. But I did that, 6 days a week for quite a while and got a stress fracture. Oh, I ended up having a massive boot on my leg and couldn't do anything for 3 months. And that was super annoying. And I mean, yeah, it was just...
I mean, it's more than annoying, though. It must be like...
It really
because
plays
running for you is training of the mind as well.
It is. However, there's no point dwelling on it. You have to accept the fact, and I had to quite quickly, accept the fact you cannot run. And and I did originally keep trying and going out just to see if it was any better. And all that happened was I made it worse. So by doing something silly like trying to run, even though you know you shouldn't, all you're doing is you're throwing yourself back a wee bit further. So I accepted. I was like, fine, I can't run. I could play golf because I just got a little golf buggy. But I could go to the gym. I could still do other stuff, and I could walk everywhere. Walking was not fast, though, because obviously I had this boot. But I did everything I could to still get that same buzz and that same rush.
From this love of running, unless you've been living under a rock, you started RunPod as well, which is going from strength to strength. You've had some incredible guests, which is awesome. Is it gone better than you'd ever thought?
Well, yeah, because I don't know, when we started our podcast around the same, I think I demoed RunPod in like 2018, and just everyone went, it's a bit niche. And I was like, well, that's the beauty about a podcast. It can be niche. Yes. And they were like, well, good luck. And no one really thought it would do well. But it did do quite well and quite quickly. And it just got this, and when I say do well, what I mean by that is that people started listening, and it got quite a nice little cult following. So I call it the RunPod Run Club. We've got a Facebook group. We've got a really nice community. And in fact, we have even got some RunPod t-shirts out there. And yesterday at the Royal Parks half marathon, I actually saw a couple of people with RunPod t-shirts on. And it's a really nice community. And even on the Facebook group, people that are in the RunPod group, it's only because they listen to the podcast, are now befriending each other. And sometimes when there's a race, they'll meet up at the start line and have like a group photo. So it's just really nice. And there are people who've been in the RunPod Run Club that have maybe been unwell, and we might notice that they haven't posted recently. And so suddenly everyone's going, right, how are you? What's going on? I mean, it's just lovely. It's a really lovely support network. And I think that's what you'll find in sport in general. You play cricket, there's a nice community. Whatever your sport, your passion is, you will, without even realizing it, become friends with people in there. I mean, if you go to the gym, you'll nod to people that you see regularly, and eventually you'll talk to them, and eventually you might know a bit about them, and that becomes your community.
What does the word community mean to you?
Oh, community, it's just a group of people that, for me, that you smile when you see someone that's in your community. That's for me what it is. Yeah, they're part of your squad, whatever your squad is. You might not know what they had for breakfast. You might not know what they do for a living, but you're in the same gang.
I wouldn't know what anyone has for breakfast. But how would you encourage somebody to start running who is reluctant to do so?
Well, I've met so many people in the last several years who have said to me they wish they'd started running sooner. And I think that if you don't try it, how do you know what you're missing out on? Now, it's not for everyone. I mean, my family think I'm crazy. None of them are interested in running. Although my husband has said he's going to start running this week. He's tried it before. I know. My mum and dad just don't get it. They really don't. But for some people, if they give it a shot, they might find that they get so much out of it. The rewards are endless. If you start running, first of all, you might find that you enjoy it. You might find that you enjoy the burning sensation at the back of your throat, the red cheeks that you get. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you might actually really enjoy that. You might enjoy getting a sweat on. You might enjoy your blood pumping, your heart beating faster. You might enjoy the challenge of trying to get to the end of the road without stopping. And you might not be able to do it for a while, but eventually you will. You'll be so proud. You'll want to see how far you can get next time. And all these little mini steps are just kind of mount up and build up. And before you know it, you might want to do couch to 5K. You might want to run a park run. You might want to run a race. You might want to do a marathon. You might want to do an ultra. Or you might just want to run in your own time without anyone, at your own pace, even plodding, walking, whatever you want. But you'll feel great.
Yeah, for sure. Now, this is a passion, and the way that you talk about it there, I have no doubt. And I haven't listened to all of your episodes, but with your pod, this is something that all your guests share a passion of. Now, I have to ask you, horrible question, favorite guest today?
Oh, I know, it's really difficult. All my guests have been amazing. And I don't even know how many episodes I've done, maybe 400 or something. And everyone is amazing. Everyone's story is brilliant. But one of the ones, I think the stories I really like are the stories of people who hate running. And they go, I absolutely no point in me coming on Run Pod. I hate running. And I'm like, but you go running. They go, but I hate it. Gok Wan, for instance, hates running, hates it. He's like, I don't even want to come on Run Pod. And I was like, but Gok, every time I see you on Instagram, you've just come back from a run. And he goes, yeah, but I hate it. I was like, well, come on Run Pod. And he went, well, I'll probably not be able to say much. He spoke for about an hour and a half without coming up for air. And literally at the end went, oh, it turns out I do quite like running. It's amazing. So episodes like that, I love. Also because it's just so relatable.
Yeah, and there's something so beautiful as well about building that community from all this that you've created ultimately. Yeah. But hearing these kind of, as you say, someone like Gok Wan, who, you know, a lot of the people that are probably in that community probably thought that at first with the running. Yeah. And now it's something that, you know, is an intrinsic part of their lives.
Yeah, exactly. I just think it's amazing. There's so many people though with incredible stories and tales to tell, and their running journeys are all different. Everyone's story is unique. And so much like, you know, the way everyone deals with mental health as well, it's unique to everyone.
Who's your dream podcast guest?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I quite like to get Jake Gyllenhaal on because he's a really keen runner, and I really like to hear his story for many reasons.
I love that. You're also now, though, a business owner with your husband. What was that experience like, starting something with your husband? Because there's always the fine line of blurred lines when it comes to that. You know, you might be sat around the dinner table talking business, but you need to switch off at some point.
I know. Well, it's actually brilliant. I mean, I never would have thought. So when I met my husband, he was an actor, doing lots of TV dramas, and I would never have thought that one day we'd be setting up a business together. But he actually has his life is now focused in the business world, in social media marketing and running subscription companies. And so actually, when we got this amazing, it's not that we got an opportunity. It's just that I have said I'd quite like a collagen business. And he went, well, why don't we do it? And I was like, well, yeah, let's do it. And so me, James, and our friend Tash, we just went, let's try and create a collagen brand, because I took collagen to support my running. Obviously, everything comes back to running.
Yeah.
And when you run, you need to support your joints. And it was only when I was doing my first marathon that someone said to me, are you taking collagen supplements? And I was like, no, why? Anyway, it turns out they're really, really amazing for protecting your joints and helping kind of like aid your bone and your cartilage kind of formation and whatever. And so I just thought, well, I'd quite like to do my own, because there are loads of collagen brands out there, but none of them delivered quite what I wanted. I wanted maximum collagen, I wanted vitamins, I wanted everything in one little package. Yeah. But I never, ever thought I would do it myself.
Were you scared setting that
Well,
up?
I had no idea how to do a business, but James was like, well, come on, let's just try it. You can do it. So we did. We spent ages researching, making sure we got the right collagen supplier, making sure we got the right collagen. We created lots of mixes. We spent a long time making sure we got the right flavor. And then before we knew it, we had this product. So yeah, going into business together with my husband is something that's happened, but really it's never really been something that I dwell on, because the most exciting part was creating this amazing product that would ultimately help me as a runner and would help other people who, you know, are athletes, you know, whether you're a jogger or a sprinter, you're an athlete. And so it would help us all. And even if it was going to the gym, even if whatever it is, physios prescribe collagen supplements to aid after recovery. So I was like, I think it's just going to be brilliant to have the best collagen supplement we can make. Anyway, we did, and it's done really well. And now, yeah, I'm in business with my husband. It's really weird. But it means we launched actually just as we went into lockdown.
Yeah.
And so it meant that business is at home. So there's no cutoff. And I know that you say it's nice to get a switch off, but I mean, we definitely do switch off. But also if we need to do some content videos, or we want to do an email and a video to go with it, we can do that because we're at home. We could do it on a Sunday afternoon because we're there in the house anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what about with your daughter? Do you encourage her to run?
She's not interested in running.
No.
I mean, she loves sport and she really likes golf, but she's gymnastics and lacrosse. I've never played lacrosse, but she's really into it, and netball. And she's just started rowing because we live near the Thames. And she's just started that. So she is really into sport, but running just seems like a lot of effort, she says.
Yeah. Do you, or does your daughter ever kind of think about her mum being in the public eye? Oh, mum's on the radio, or is it just that's just life?
She's absolutely used to it, but since she's been born, I've really worked in radio. I haven't really worked on television, and the times I've been on this morning, she's at school, so she knows I work on television and I have done, but it's not like I'm present on telly when she's watching, and she's more into like, going online and, watching social media and stuff like most of them are, or they don't necessarily sit down to watch ITV daytime.
Funny enough.
So yeah, it's a different thing. It's not something that she thinks about at all.
Jenni, what do you think has been your biggest career pinch me moment to date, apart from Clint Eastwood?
Do you know what I am proudest of is the things that I have created. So look, I absolutely love working on Smooth, and I love being a part of the breakfast show. I never thought I'd be a breakfast radio host. I'd never even considered it as a possibility, because I grew up listening to people that work in that. Likewise, I never thought I'd be a TV presenter because I grew up watching presenters. So suddenly to be in this world, it feels like a pinch me moment. But to turn my passion, which is running, into businesses now for me, like RunPod is essentially a business because it's a full-time job. I wrote a book last year, which came out earlier this year, and that essentially is another business. And my Colo Health is a business that was all about giving a supplement to runners. And again, there we go, I never thought that would work. So the pinch me moment is turning my passion into my business.
I want to talk about your book briefly, actually, because it's something that has evolved out of your podcast, because you've created this amazing community of people. How did you find writing a book? But because you're so passionate about it, I imagine, it was something that you really wanted to do, but it must have just fallen out.
Yeah.
It must have been so easy.
I don't know, what were you like at school or uni? Were you good at doing like the dissertations and the projects?
I love writing stuff. I remember I'd finished my dissertation about 3 months before it was due. People were like, are you okay? That's a bit weird. I was like, I just got it done.
But just once you get your head into something, I just sit there. I mean, sometimes I'd be sitting there. I sit cross-legged on the floor. I have a tiny little low-level table, and I put my laptop on. And sometimes my dog is literally trying to sit on my lap, so it's quite hard. The lights will have gone off because the daylight will have gone, and it'll now be pitch black, and I'm just sitting there kind of working with the laptop light. And once I get in a flow, I don't stop. And so it was quite nice. It felt like a project. It was really nice. Yes. But I just wanted to do it all in one chunk. I didn't want to drag it out for a year or whatever. So I did it over 3 months basically, and it was really fun. I remembered when you have to write about stuff that's happened, it's funny how much you remember that you haven't thought of for years.
There are little triggers, and then you're like, oh yeah, I remember. And then you actually have almost painted an incredible kind of picture of everything.
Yeah. And when I was doing the audio, it was really weird doing the audio version of your book, but it's really nice. So you read the book in a recording studio, so then it goes out on audio form. When I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, there's so much I missed out, because you remember even more when you read it back like that.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what is next? So we've got this huge success. You've got your books. We're still doing Smooth, but you're ambitious, and you love doing stuff. What are some ideas coming, if you can share?
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows? Long may it continue. That's all I say. I mean, I'd love RunPod to keep going. I'm excited for Colo Health and the new products that we will launch, because we've already got a couple in the bag ready to go, but we're just waiting for when might be a good time to launch them.
What about running?
Well, I'm trying to decide whether in 2025 I do my 10th London Marathon. Wow. So I feel like I need to do 10, but I know when I get to 10, I'll want to do more. So that's where I am at the moment. So I'd like to get faster half marathons. My PB for my half marathon and my marathon are both from 2010. And I appreciate I'm not going to get those again, because that was when my life was not quite as busy with work, and when I didn't have a daughter, and when I didn't have so much structure on a daily basis. However, I'd like to get a bit faster than I am now. So yeah, more races, more running, maybe try and get under 10 handicap in golf, and yeah, I'll be happy.
What piece of advice would you give to somebody who might be struggling with their well-being at the moment?
You never know where anyone is. You never know. And sometimes you can't see yourself getting out of a situation. And we've all been in situations that spiral, you just can't see it getting better, but it will. It will get better, and it will, just day by day. You've just got to, I think, look for the positive in a situation, and that's one of it. So it's all very easy to have a glass half empty attitude. It's almost like you've got to spin it. And it's hard to see the glass half full attitude when you're in a negative place. But by sometimes turning that around and looking for the positive before the negative, it can help. Get outside, get some fresh air. I'm not saying that running is the cure to everything, but sometimes just being outside and going for a walk and making yourself do that can make a difference. Not everyone's in a place that they want to go out, but if you can, and if you can look for the positives, and if you can try and smile about something, find something to make yourself smile, it can be a little step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's worth noting, everybody is different. What running works for you might not work for somebody else.
Exactly.
But getting your heart racing, doing something, that does help everybody. We know that for sure. But be that fresh air, be that taking up a new hobby, it's
It's difficult.
something for somebody.
It's true, and it's really difficult. You don't know how to help everyone, but the only thing I can say is you can take little steps every day and take each day as it comes, but always try and look for the positive, and as opposed to the negative, and it's easier said than done.
Jenni, what does the word headstrong mean to you?
I think for me it means that you have maybe a bit of focus, that you have maybe a bit of passion, and that you have, you want to head somewhere. Okay, this is it for me. It's not about being proud. It's not about being necessarily motivated. It's just about knowing that you want to do something, and it's just a case of working out how you're going to get there.
Love it. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Well, and I hope you manage to get 10 marathons.
Yeah, I'd like to. And I'm jealous. You've got a much comfier sofa than my Rumpod chairs.
No, thank you so much. So again.
Thank you.